Kwa issues ya hizi yenye naguza mkulima, ningependa pia Deputy President pia achunguzwe, because ni nini hasa hataki kuja kusaidia wakulima na hataki kuweza kutusikiza.
Imeonekana wazi, na tunakuomba Mheshimiwa Deputy President, because you are part of these problems, wewe ujitokeze vizuri na ukuwe investigated. We really want to know what have you been doing about the fertilizer imports. Hata yule waziri mtoto wetu Bet, kuja utueleze mambo ya fertilizer imekuwa ikifanyika vipi, mambo ya mahindi, kuleta mahindi kutoka ng'ambo imekuwa ikiletwa vipi, ili tuelewe na tusitishwe.
So yet another development there on the issues facing maize farmers. Welcome back to Checkpoint. We're glad to have you with us tonight. We want to focus on some of those sentiments that were made, but also the real issues facing Wanjiko. And I want to introduce my guest to you this evening. One of them, you've just seen them on that clip. His name is Silas Tiren. He's the Moiben Member of Parliament, and he's joining us from our studio in Eldoret. Thank you, sir, for making time for us. And here in studio with me, I have Nelson Koech, who's the Member of Parliament, Belgut. Also, thank you for making time for us. I'll begin with you, Honorable Tiren. You are part of the other two legislators making these pronouncements, calling for an investigation to be opened against the Deputy President. What do you want investigated?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think you've seen the clip very clearly. I think it clearly explains what we are requesting and what we're asking for. Well, let me just put it this way, that farmers have been facing a lot of challenges and issues, and there's a lot of lies that every time farmers are promised that this will be done, and the rest. And of course, we have our leaders and we have our senior leaders who have been seeing farmers crying day in, day out. And yesterday we had farmers who were not happy, and like we've been doing the same thing repeatedly on so many occasions. We come, we meet, we talk. They said investigations are being done. Of course, we'll be given. We've had also the CSA investigations are being done, but this thing is very hot. It's touching on very sensitive people. You've also had the president say and tell the minister or the CS that come out with this list of these things so that we are able to move forward. So yesterday farmers had resolved, and so one of the resolutions was they want everybody investigated, especially those people who are actually trying to convince farmers to stop growing maize and maybe grow avocado, cabbage, and the rest. And that is the reason we had to read the resolutions. And they said that they wanted to maybe investigate also the Deputy President's office, because you had very well that there were areas that during the payment of maize was sent, or rather money was sent to areas where there was no maize, and managers were, or rather told, or the CEO was calling managers to tell them to pay so and so and the rest. And we hear this is all coming from one office, and I think you had yesterday. So maybe those are some of the reasons you said. Why doesn't the authorities or the agency follow up and investigate?
All right, let me jump in there, and very quickly before I come to Mheshimiwa Koech, because for the Deputy President to say farmers should diversify, it is not a crime. There are those who argue if a certain crop or farming is not working, then it is important to be able to diversify and get into other areas for the success and the wellness, if you like, of these people. But number two, you say he made calls. Do you have proof? Because these are wild allegations. What proof is there that he interfered? And yet we've seen some officials already being probed and arrested.
Well, very, very good. You've seen some officials being probed, and they were not given an opportunity maybe to talk about that. But let me not go into that, because there is a case and it's going on. But as you say, diversifying or going into other things is not a crime. Agreed. I agree to that very well. But does that mean that farmers have not been paid and they are being punished, or rather they've not been paid for over a year? And instead of them paying farmers first and then maybe coming now and convincing them that this is a better crop than the other crop, because I don't think there will be anybody who would not want to do anything good. So I come from the point of view that farmers have not been paid for a whole year. There are farmers who still have their maize since last year. They have their crop that is ready at the moment. There is no budget for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let me bring this to MP Koech. Although with due respect, it's, again, there's due process on how these farmers are paid. It is fact, some have not been paid, but also it is fact. It is not the office of the Deputy President that pays, and you've not answered my question as to the evidence that there was interference. And I want to hear your thoughts on this, Honorable Koech. There are those who are convinced, yes, making those allegations that the Deputy President's office is interfering. You agree?
First, allow me to say that I really sympathize with the farmer in North Rift, because just like any other trade, they expect returns from what they have plowed in terms of farming. Number two, I'm struggling to see the connection between the Deputy President and the maize prices and whatever is happening in North Rift. I've really been struggling to hear how Honorable Tiren was going to come out and explain to the nation what was the connection, or what is the connection between the Deputy President and the issues that they're having now in matters maize. Let me tell you first that what we all must agree is that maize, like any other commodity, is driven by the forces of supply and demand. So, I mean, that is where Tiren should come in from. Number two, Tiren, Alfred Keter and Honorable Kutuny, this is their 6th year in Parliament, all of them. I can tell you today, Tiren is talking about budget and all these issues. He's a member of Parliament. He knows. He's legislating. He oversights. He represents. But then, look, he's now going to the farmers and organizing some sort of kamkunji, paid team to come and join them in a chorus where they know very well where their direction is going. They know very well. I can tell you today, in Parliament, not a single piece of legislation has been brought to Parliament by these members of Parliament from North Rift trying to advance the issues of farmers. Zero. Yeah. I come from a constituency that predominantly tea growing. I have, without blowing my trumpet, small legislations that are going to now in the processes of Parliament that are going to come out to assist in checking on issues affecting our tea farmers in my region. I can challenge you now to ask Tiren if he has any sort of legislation to do that. And then, now, before you cut me short, Sophia, there's a lie in these people. And I can see, and Kenyans can see through the lie in Tiren and his colleagues. They are not speaking about maize. If they were genuine about the maize farmer, I can tell you today, it will be something different. They are not genuine. This is a chorus of condemnation. They just want to use the unfortunate situation of the farmers in North Rift to advance some selfish political and vendetta scoring. That is what they are doing.
Honorable Tiren, I'll give you a moment to respond to that this is a vendetta, this is politics. And also, can you substantiate those claims you've made that the Deputy President is interfering and his hand is in the plight of farmers?
Thank you. Although it was not very clear, but I could hear in bits, it was not very clear. But I want to maybe touch on a few things. Say they've not seen any leader or anybody from North Rift bringing or legislating anything in Parliament about farmers. Let us start somewhere. Let's start maybe from the budget point of view. That is something that is done in Parliament, and I think we pushed for a budget to buy maize, and I think through my committee, me being in the Agriculture Committee, we pushed and we were trying to make sure that we have money to buy or help farmers. And of course, Koech or Mheshimiwa Koech knows very well and how the budget is done. Once we have passed whatever is passed, it goes to the executive, it comes back, this has been changed, and you can do nothing about it because there's no independence in Parliament.
You've talked about budget, and that's
so
one thing.
I also want Koech to tell us.
Yeah. You're talking about budget. Let me just jump in.
Yes.
And we've heard of the incidents of farmers not being paid and unscrupulous individuals instead being paid. But I think the challenge Mheshimiwa Koech is putting to you is in terms of legislation and streamlining the processes that ensure genuine farmers are paid. Have you done anything to help? Now,
let me put it this way, because you see, they have a list, and you know, like, we've also been importing fertilizer and been supplying subsidized fertilizer to farmers. And they have the lists of the farmers who took fertilizer and was of course supposed to supply the maize. But you've also heard very clearly that the people who are paid were not actually, you heard that they were not genuine farmers.
Yes.
Yes, and there is also the other issue that there was so much maize from Mexico, US, and I think South Africa and the rest, and maybe Uganda. So of course, let's also look at it from that point. If only what had been brought in was only the deficits, then these challenges would not have been there. Because now they are saying that money that was brought in or that was given to pay farmers ended up being paid the wrong people. So who did the mistake or who did the wrong thing?
All right, I'll come back
and
to you.
And record also that the CEO of cereals board resigned maybe on a Sunday, because on Monday he was not in office and he was there on Friday. So those are some of the people who should have also maybe come, or rather given us, or come out clean and tell us where did all this thing come from.
All right, I'll come back to you, sir. Honorable Koech, to the question around the Deputy President asking these individuals to diversify. And there are those who've challenged that call and say, why not resolve the issues we face and give us proposals as opposed to giving up, and this is what we've known, this is what we want, and do not want to get into other farming. What if it also fails? Why not find solutions?
Deputy President is just being realistic. You must understand that Deputy President has worked with all these farmers for a very long time. He was their member of parliament at some point. So he knows very well what ails the maize farmer more than any of these other people.
Then why not give solutions?
Sorry?
Why not, if he knows what ails,
the solution is
why
this.
not,
Like I said
the solution
before,
to leave the farming
like
of
I
maize?
said before,
Yeah.
any commodity in market is driven by demand and supply. And going forward, the other day, the president was in China. They signed an MOU to buy from Kenya avocados and macadamia nuts. That is where it is going. And all the deputy president was saying is not stop. He did not say stop the maize farming. No. All he simply said was that let us now diversify. We have seasons where we don't have rain. What do the maize farmers do? So we must now think. And you know, if we have a remote thinking like this one of saying we must permanently be maize farmers, then we will never move ahead. This is we are in a world that is so fast moving that we must change even our methods of farming. And it is only fair to say the truth to these people that now it is time that you realize that it is not only maize that you'll be relying on. Let us now move forward, rely on macadamia and avocados and many other things as we solve the problems that we have in the maize sector.
Then let me ask you this, and you're a member of Jubilee, the president's
Yes.
party. But isn't this an admission of failure on the government to the extent that food security is a big four agenda? And so you're seeing all of these issues around maize, there was sugar, and we're talking about maize that is not fit for human consumption. That's touching on the health of Kenyans. Again, another big four agenda. So that we're not hearing solutions. We're hearing we've signed deals, let's diversify, but still not everybody will go to say macadamia, avocado farming. Solutions to the problems that everyday Mwananchi and farmer is facing are not being put on the table. Task forces that have been created, many have been there, and Kenya's history is replete with many reports gathering dust in shells, no implementation. So what's going to be different?
I have seen the government try as much as possible to try and meet somewhere with the farmer. And I think we are becoming a nation that is so much entirely dependent on the government. Look, for instance, we have now fertilizer subsidies. From where it was, way above 3,000, fertilizer now is retailing for 1,500. But farmers, that is a subsidy to the farmers. Now, if you tell again the farmer that you want the government to chip in when they are selling their maize, you are going to lower the cost. What they are demanding is 3,600. If you ask for 3,600, then it means the consumer is going to bear the cost. So the ugali that we are going to have on our table is actually going to be more than what we are buying it for. Do Kenyans want that? They don't want. So we will have a trade imbalance. So we must agree at some point that this is where the government can come in, and this is where we will meet. That is being sincere. These three gentlemen are not being very sincere. They are refusing to tell the farmers. And that is why, even after all this, tell me what is the solution that they came out with yesterday when they were in Eldoret. It was just telling them politics, speaking ill of government and the deputy president, but there is no connection whatsoever now that he's talking. I've not heard anything from him linking the deputy president with the mess in the maize sector. And as we are talking, Sophia, you must understand that there's a PS, former PS, who is now answering charges in court over the payment, irregular payments that were made. Number two is that this thing is supposed, prices are set by strategic food reserve. It is not done by natural cereals or kiunjuri. This is strategic grain reserve. There is already a task force that is doing all this. Mandago is part and parcel of that task force. Have they listened to it? No. So they went to the press seeking cheap political mileage out of this sad situation.
All right. Honorable Tiran, you sit in the Agricultural Committee. As a member of that committee, I wonder if you have powers to summon a deputy president if you wanted to also question him, because as you call for investigations, surely you would be submitting evidence as to wrongdoing.
Thank you very much. Before I get there, I just want to also say, because I think Koech has simply said that the deputy president knows very well the farmers' problems, and he's been there for a very long time. So I wonder why all those problems that he knows, or he's sure of all the problems farmers are facing, have not been solved for all that time. And then secondly, also, I heard Koech say that we have not legislated anything about helping farmers. I don't know whether he has legislated anything to help his tea farmers, because he comes from an area where there's a lot of tea, and I also heard tea farmers complaining. And he's also maybe mentioned that why should we demand for 3,600? I want to ask him that just the other day, when they were doing importation, when Kenya was importing, when they said there was no maize, they imported maize at 3,600.
Honorable Tiran, allow me
Nobody raised any question. It took about 2 weeks.
Allow me to jump in there. Two wrongs don't make a right. So if to say that you have not legislated and then throw it back to the honorable member in studio that has he also legislated is not the answer. What have you done is the question. And also this question that you've still not answered for me, sir, is what evidence do you have on the claims you made yesterday with your colleagues?
Very good. Thank you very much. Well, I was trying to answer what he had asked first before I get to that, because he said issues of maize is also about supply and demand. So I was trying to say that supply and demand are issues that maybe we should have been looking at supply and demand and not bother about the price. But when they imported so much and there was a deficit of about only 4 million bags and we received almost 15 million bags, that shows the supply and demand now was not working well because it was artificial. And then on the area, maybe what they are saying, I don't know whether the deputy president is linked to a Koilel farm or not, because I was seeing in the list of EAC, Koilel farm was also mentioned. Maybe they should do more investigations. I don't know whether he has any links with that. Then maybe we'll be following on issues if they are saying about investigation so that they can be followed. And then about the part you are saying whether we have the powers. Well, of course, being the deputy president, you know, we have our limits, because maybe we can only summon the ministers and all the other CEOs and the rest. So we also have limits on that. But what we are saying is that I think everybody, or rather we have agencies that investigate. So let the agencies also find out, because we saw it from EACC list, so we want them also to maybe come out, and they tell us to come out clean. And maybe he's pushing for me to say this or that, but it's on public domain that everybody knows there's so many things going on. So let the agencies that are supposed to be investigating, let them investigate, come out with a list and areas that need to be investigated. On the other end, because maybe everybody is saying, the three of us, or what we said yesterday, or maybe what we are saying is that farmers who are complaining, farmers are giving their grievances, and they are saying, why isn't anybody listening to them? Yes.
And we did not hear solutions from that press conference. And that is what I want us to talk about when we return from this break. What are those solutions, proposals that can be implemented to ensure farmers are able to reap from what they put in so much hard work each and every day? Stay with us right here on Checkpoint. We'll be right back.